Welcome back to another episode of Slot Rods. Today we're going to go over building a half gantry. I've been waiting for more parts to come in for that Ferrari build I've been doing, so I decided to go ahead and do one of these while I'm waiting. You may have seen the Mobil 1 gantry, half gantry on the track. That came from Magnetic Racing as well. I had ordered some stuff from them a while back, a start gantry and some stadium seats, and they were running a special. If you got so much, you got a free half gantry. So I picked the Heineken model. That's what it looks like when it's made, when it's built. These are pretty simple to put together. It's all laser cut. The pieces just pop out. You may do a little trimming of a little nub here and there with your X-Acto knife, but it comes out nice and clean. The stuff goes together real easy with super glue. You can buy them pre-painted, which can save you a little time, although it does cost you more. And then you have to go with how they paint it. I plan to do this one with green letters, the red star, typical to the Heineken logo. But we'll take this apart and start showing you the different pieces. So here we have it unpackaged. Out of fairness to them, I put tape over the passwords. When you get these, they have a password on them, which you just log in online on their website, and it brings up all the instructions for putting it together. So just out of fairness to them, I hid that. As you can see, these just pop right out, real simple, real easy to pop out. And the different plates. These are the little salt and sand boxes that sit on the base. This is the gantry base, the base for the entire model, the railings, the top board pieces, the gantry pieces. Oh, we already had a couple stars come out. And then more of the gantry pieces. But yeah, they pop out real easy. They glue together real easy. We'll go over that. I'll probably put the gantry together and then paint it, but I'll do the plate, which it's kind of difficult a little to, if you paint this, then it's hard to see where the letters go. And you don't want to put the letters on first and then paint them both at the same time. So I kind of just hope I get lucky. There's a little bit of the burn marks. Once you paint it, you kind of can see it a little bit to get the letters over it nicely. But I'll do all the painting for the stars and the lettering and the boards before I put the letters on. And I'll do the gantry and then paint that once it's all together. So I'm going to go ahead and paint those letters, and then we'll get on with building the gantry. So we're back. I've got the pre-painted pieces down in the paint room. I've just hit them with a coat of gray primer. This stuff kind of sucks up paint a little bit, so it's all for a better final product. It's kind of a good idea just to hit it with a coat of primer first. So I'm letting that dry. So just like with lumber, measure twice, cut once. With this, it's fit twice, glue once. So I've popped out all the pieces for the gantry assembly, and I fitted them. I fitted them twice. Here, they're not even glued. They're just sitting there fitted. I haven't tried doing this while gluing, so I'm going to maybe reposition. I can't do it with the camera in front of me, so I may reposition it to the side and see how we go from there. But if that bores you, you can fast forward through it, but I'll try and get all this glued up while we're doing it. So this is the top part. We'll move it out of the way for now, and we'll start with the base unit. It's best to do the sides first, and then we'll come in. We have to get these set up first, then we can put the pieces that go in between in, and then we can put the top on. A little bit in each notch. As you can see, there's a little bit of darker side. They call that the bad side, which always goes to the end. Now, I'm not going to do it here, but if the parts are a little bit wet when you put super glue on, they tend to dry faster. So I won't necessarily condone it, but if you lick a piece, it's likely to dry faster. I just want to make sure that's all seated nicely, everything's kind of lined up in parallel. And that's already ready to go. So now we'll do this next side. You have to watch a little bit, like some of this doesn't bleed through or come off the side and it glues your piece down to the board you're working on, especially when you tap these little notches. I always like to make sure a little bit gets in the notch. I'll check that, make sure everything's seated in well. I don't have any bow outs or bow ends. If it bows in, you'll have trouble getting the internal pieces in. She's looking good already. Now these are your internal inserts. They slide in as you go. You can always check the instructions. They come up quite nicely. We're just going to work it as we go. You just kind of line it up. Line it up, squeeze it, let her set for a little bit. Hope you can see this because I can't tell. I'm doing the best I can. I know my right hand's probably covering some of this. Try not to be too shaky. You want to make sure all that's flat on the top because you're going to have that piece laying over top, so if it's sticking up, it's not going to lay flat. Yeah, we're getting there. Pretty good. One more piece to go. A little bit of, wasn't trimmed well enough. There we go. Back on that. And the last piece of the puzzle. When I said it's feeling good and tight, it means everything's kind of coming together well. Looking good. So there she is, all glued up. If you notice, the base pieces are all in the right order. That could have been nasty if it was done wrong. And you'll complete it by putting this on top as such. So let's go ahead and glue that. Don't need much, just a tiny little bit does it. I'm just getting a barely thin film on it. Trying to anyway. I'm just gonna make sure she's parallel. There's no bow outs or anything. It's nice and flush. And that should do it. And that will be the base of the gantry. The upper part will fit in the top here and come out this way. And this section will sit into the base. So we got that done. So you can set that aside. And we can move on to the top piece. Basically, same procedure. We got the sides and the top. Oh, did that wrong. Silly me. Make sure that gets in good and tight, and make sure it doesn't secure to the board that I'm on. That would be bad. So that looking good there. Next will be this piece. She's good and firm. It looks nice and flush. Now we want to put that into place like so. That will be the next procedure. So we've got to, if you look at the way it's going to sit, we want glue here and then along these insides and then back here again. So we shall do that right now. Should settle that. So we get these pieces in, line that up, and we'll get that all glued together. Looking good, everything's nice and tight and flush. So with that being settled, we can put this last piece on. Let me trim a little bit here. Make sure you get it just right. So we're just going to dry fit to check. That's how she's going to sit once it's glued. So we'll go ahead and put some glue in there. In that notch. Alrighty. So let's get this settled in. Get that just right. Yeah, looks like it is. There. Looks like it's pretty darn set and flush. Looking pretty good now. And then there's this last piece, the end cap, and it goes up here. And it goes right in there. Let me give that a little quick trim just to make it perfect. So we're going to glue it like that. So I'm going to, I don't know if you can, it's probably going to be off camera while I do this. So there it's glued on. As you can see, it's pretty darn square all the way around. Looks pretty darn good. So that is that. That is the gantry itself. This will go into the base. The signboard will go over here. We'll let this dry. Probably gonna let it dry the rest of the day because I'm gonna still paint the number or paint the other stuff I have in the downstairs in the paint room. So when we come back, we'll move on. Well, we're back to try and do the salt and sand ballast boxes that sit on the base. On the other ones, I have the lids where they just sit on it. I glued a little piece on the back here that kind of just sets it on top. Then I have two old slot car motors sitting inside the box for ballast to hold the thing up. If you do it on a big table layout, you can just screw the thing down or glue it down. But since I just have it on sitting on the floor, I use the ballast boxes to keep it sitting upright. So you've got two back pieces, two front pieces on your sides. So we'll flip over a back, and we have to line these up and get them glued. And then the fronts will sit across it as such, which you probably can't see because my hand's in the way. So we'll do this first. Do a little along this back side here. We'll put that one on here. Just make sure we get the edges lined up nicely. The trick is keeping those edges nice and flush and square. And then we can do the front. Now when I go to paint these, the reason I'm doing it now is because I'm gonna paint these by hand, and I'm gonna use a brush. And with that brush, I'll just give it more of a weathered look. So it looks like it's been sitting out there for a while, and it allows the streaks and the words to come through a little bit better. Like I said, I'll cut a little piece out of the board that it came in. Like I'll cut a chunk out of this, and then I will glue it to the back side of here once I get it set just right, so that just sits on it perfect. So that's how you do those. When we come back, we should have some painted pieces ready to go. So here we are after a bunch of the painting's been done. You can see I've done all the letters. They look pretty good. Make sure I got the edges so they're all nice and white. Then the boards themselves, that was done with a forest green gloss. You can still see the outline of where the letters go, so it makes it easy for me to transition all this on. The railing posts for the base, that was done with a metallic paint. All of this was done with a flat gray primer to start with, just to keep it from soaking up much. This is just a matte black. As I go back, you know, if I ever do a nice layout with scenery, I can just paint this green by hand and put some static grass on it. But I also drilled a hole in the middle so I can wire lights up through it later. If I do that, I'll probably put some shrink tubing up, paint that like a gray color, run the wires up through that into the top, and I can put some down lighting to light up the signs, or just lighting inside the frame to shine down on the track. Here's the end piece. Here's the actual gantry itself. That again was done with a flat gray primer and then hit with a metallic paint. And gives it a little bit of a steel look, or a nice aluminum color. Then the boxes, as I said, I was going to do those with a hand painted to give them a little bit of a aged rustic look. I glued a little piece on here so when it sits on top like that, it keeps it from sliding down and sets it centered. And then you can put ballast in that later to hold the whole gantry down. Now I did some of the stars, and they had outlines for them like such that will go around the star, and sadly I screwed some up because they got stuck to the sheet I was painting on. As you can see, this one got screwed up. I will try. The other one just got totally squashed. This one might glue together when I get it on. I don't know. So they had another type of star where it was outlined, and I just did it all in red, and then I hand painted the edges, and it's not great. It's not terrible. I might have to touch up some of the center here where I accidentally touched it. Got some white on it. Might have to put a little bit of red to cover that back up. But we can go ahead and start gluing this. I'm getting the stars and the lettering glued on. And then after that dries, we can attach it to the gantry. Last time I had the phone set to the right. Unfortunately, I'm right-handed, so I'm sure my hand got in the way of a lot of things. So this time I will try and set it to the left and see if we can videotape that a little bit better. So here we are. We're going to try and get these all glued in. We'll see how long this takes. I might put some speed up the video, but we will get to it here. You're not gonna. I don't want to use too much. I don't want it to flip out around the edges and make paint run or anything like that. So it's going to be just a very tiny bit. So there we go. And that will go up on here as such. Once I glue it on, it'll settle it like that. So I have one more to do, and then the end piece, and we're going to let that dry, and then we'll come back and put the rest of it all together. Alrighty, all that's dried. We're looking good here. Got the star on the end piece. Both the sideboards are done. And I went ahead and glued the railings into the base plate. They fit pretty snug. You don't have to glue them, but I just did. So now we can, set up the signage. But what I want to do first is put the end piece on, because that you can decide how you want it to overlap with the end piece. You can have the end piece shuttered or not. You can have it cornered or butted. I'll probably do the butted setup, but the first thing I'm going to do is glue that piece on the end, as so. And then you will line them up as such. So we will take that glue and glue this rim. Pretty good there. We'll do the next piece here. That looks good there. We'll flip her over, do the other side. And we are finished. There we go. Looks pretty horrendous from this view probably. So I will change camera views and put it together. Back to the normal view with me behind the camera. So now you can see how that looks. Then with the base, she sits in it sits in pretty snug. These are pretty snug the way this fits. I mean, you don't even have to glue it. And then the ballast boxes will sit in as such. And probably, I just put a motor back there. But so there's the finished product. We're going to put it on the, oh, there's a piece of that stuck there. We'll put it on the track and have a look. So here we are with some track views. I'll just take a little video from different angles, but I just threw some dead 9 volts on the back for ballast for now. But she looks pretty good. I'm pretty pleased with it. That stuff from magnetic racing is easy to put together, and you do it right, it looks great. After this, I'll go ahead and show one of the illuminated billboards I have from them. I've got like 4. Yeah, I think I've got 4. But I'll plug one of those up and show you how it looks. Here's the illuminated billboard, one of 4 that I have. This is the shell. It came in a kit as well. You had to put it all together and paint it however you wanted. I've done several different paint schemes. As you can see, if you look closely, you can see the electric part, the illuminated part, is really thin. We're talking a couple sheets of paper thin. It's really amazing that they can even do this, and it looks great. You've got the power supply is 3 AAAs, the control board. All their billboards run off the same control board. It sends us, there's like 40 different programs. It sends certain signals to the board to change the lighting and the display. But they are just gorgeous the way they work. The power supply is, I think it's 4.5 volts. You can use it off of AAAs, or if you have a static setup, you can cut that off and just use direct power. So it doesn't have to run off of batteries. You can just run it off of I wouldn't use track power, but similar to all your other LED lighting around your track, you can run it off of that. But they are gorgeous. I love them. I'm waiting for more. There's supposed to be a Goodyear sign coming. I hope that comes soon. They were talking, the last time they talked to me about that was like 6-9 months ago, and it's not out yet, but I'm waiting for it. So I hope they come up with more, because these are just gorgeous. So that will do it for this episode of Slot Rod's Garage. Thanks for watching.